Good evening, everyone. Is this better? Okay. Just had to reposition the microphone. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. So you still can't hear me well? Okay, I'm going to use my teacher voice. How about that? Haven't been in the classroom for a very long time, but there are some things though that you just do not lose. Just like riding on a horse, they say. I would like to call the meeting to order at 7:02. Clerk, would you please call the roll? Okay. As you can see, it's pretty loud in here. But I promise you, you would rather deal with the loudness of the fan than to deal with what we dealt with back there all day. Even though the temperature outside was in the 90s, back there had to be 95, close to 100. I'd like to apologize personally to whoever was on a Zoom meeting with me at 5 o'clock tonight after I had just gotten in the house from being here all day. It wasn't a pretty sight. That's all I'm going to say. And I wasn't informed that I was on video until after I had caused all of this havoc on those who were there. Please forgive us. Trustees, in front of you, though, you're going to see one of the reasons why we have no air. If you look at the precision control system, it's not on the agenda, but it came through, and I just thought that I would share. It's one of the last ones that I just gave you guys. Know that this is what's owed. It's not what the price to repair the unit will be. And I am going to leave it for the village administrator to speak more specifically about it, okay? And what it's going to take. We have another very full agenda, but you can expect that this board is dedicated to doing whatever is necessary to bring our village back. So if you just bear with us, I'm not going to promise we're going to be out here in an hour. I'm not going to promise we'll be out here in 2. But I promise you, I don't promise you, I'm begging all of you, let us not still be here at 10 o'clock tonight, okay? If we can agree with that, we're going to move on to discussions and presentations. And the first one on is Melanie Arnold, our Robinson Engineering firm. I'm going to ask all of the speakers to speak just as loud as I am so that they don't shout at you to tell you to speak up, okay? Because you know they will, okay?
Okay.
Let's go.
Good evening, Mayor, Madam Mayor, Madam Clerk, and Board of Trustees. I am going to try to talk loud, like I'm yelling at my kids. Does that work? Can you hear me? Okay. I just have 2 items for discussion. I'll try to be brief. The first one is I just wanted to bring up the update of the IDOT resolution that was on the last board meeting agenda for approval, and we had discussed it at the previous committee of the whole meeting. This was to obligate additional funds in the amount of $44,863.77, which has already been spent for a project that was completed in 2022. So this is just the paperwork to officially obligate these RBI funds to this project, which IDOT requires. And the reason I just wanted to, so it was supposed to be on past last board meeting. It will be on the board meeting for next Tuesday, and I wanted to just talk about it briefly tonight because I had to let the IDOT grant manager know that it had, that it was not passed at the last board meeting. And so she responded to me and she just said, please emphasize to the village the deadline for getting these RBI funds authorized is July 1st of 2025. Time is of the essence. So that's just basically, I wanted to let you know this needs to be voted on. It needs to be approved via board resolution before July 1st. So that would mean at the June 24th board meeting. June 24th board meeting. So that I just wanted to put that at everyone's attention. And then I'm sorry.
That item was on the agenda as Melanie stated at the last. That agenda item was on the agenda at the last board meeting that you did not have. You guys gave approval that they can move forward. So I'm hoping that we are still of that mindset that it will be on the board agenda next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you. And then the second item is a bid award update for the DCEO Merrill Avenue Water Main Replacement Project. We were allowed to open bids after the board meeting that didn't happen last week. So we were able to do that. I will be providing at the June 24th board meeting a recommendation for the bid award. There were 4 contractors that bid. The low bid came in at $967,996.95. Oh, okay. And so that it was by Iroquois Paving Corporation, so that will be a recommendation to award the bid to them. I did need to bring to the board's attention that the DCEO grant that we have is for construction $870,000. So there is about $98,000 that we are short between the awarded bid amount or the low bidder and the grant monies from DCEO. And so that is something that we can look into alternative options for funding that additional $98,000. There is a chance that, there are some contingency items in here that we may not need to use. If that's the case, then that gap would close. But it's just something that I wanted to make you all aware of before you authorize the bid award. But this was $1 million grant that the village received, so it includes design engineering and construction engineering costs already included. So this DCEO grant is for a total of $1 million. The shortfall is $98,000. So I am hopeful that we can, oftentimes you would utilize water funds to make up the difference. And the reason for the shortfall is when we originally put this application in, it was 2 years ago. So the price of ductile iron pipe has gone up considerably since then, and we have 2,000 lineal feet in this project. So that was the main difference that pushed it over our original estimated amounts. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has about that.
Trustee Sterling?
Hi. You said how many people had bids, and I didn't hear the amount of the lowest bidder.
And I will provide all of this to you in a memo that will be in your packet for next week. But there were 4 bidders, and the lowest responsive and responsible bidder was Iroquois Paving Corporation. and their bid total was $967,996.95. You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. How long ago did we have these bids?
We just opened these after what would have been the board meeting last Tuesday.
So you just opened those bids, and you opened those bids on the dollar amount that we bid on from, what, 2 years ago?
Well, that was what the grant, so we put a grant application in 2 years ago.
Right.
And at that time, that was what this project was estimated to be $870,000. So then we had to go through it was a big process to go through the DCEO grants and then receive the grants and then do the design. So yeah, the difference between when we submitted for this grant and now has been 2 years.
So we're $98,000 short,
Yes,
and the lowest bid was $960,000.
$968,000.
Right.
Yes. And the original bid amount that we had was $870,000 when we put in for this application 2 years ago.
And we only had 3.
4 bids.
We had 4.
Mm-hmm.
That was the lowest.
That was the lowest.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Melanie at this time? Thank you, Melanie. One more.
Yes, I will have this prepared and in the packet to the clerk. Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next Tuesday. Moving on to the agenda, we have a presentation. We've had one of these before, but not by the president of Southland Development. And so I welcome to the floor now President Felicia Harding.
Now, Mayor, thank you. Madam Trustee, Trustees, Village Clerk, thank you very much for your time. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this jacket off. So my name is Felicia Purdy. I am president of Southland Development Authority. What I'm going to be presenting to you today, some of you guys may have seen, there's some new information that I want to share with you, and there's also some decisions that we need to make in the near future. So I want to tell you a little bit about Southland Development Authority. Southland Development Authority is 5 years old. We were established to foster economic development in the Southland area. That includes the 45 municipalities in this area. We have a holistic view of how we actually provide economic development. One is around a fund. It's called the Monarch Fund. We have our business growth services where we service businesses in the area. Just this quarter, we worked with 400 businesses. We have the South Suburban Land Bank that we manage. We also have our municipal consultant. And so that's what the Southland Development Authority does. Our proposal today is to construct a small footprint grocery store. And it would be owned by Southland Development Authority, which is a nonprofit, and it would be operated by a local operator. And I'll share with you some of those operators at the end of the presentation. The exciting thing about this is something that is very close and near to my heart, and that's us having healthy and fresh food. I'll also talk to you in a few minutes about food deserts. I don't know how many of you guys grew up in a neighborhood where you can walk to the grocery store. Anybody? I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and my parents would send me to the store to get stuff. That could be anything. It was stuff. I do not live in the South suburbs, but my mom lived in the South suburbs for over 30 years in Country Club Hills. We had grocery stores that was near us. I live in Chicago, and I have 4 grocery stores that I could walk to. 4 grocery stores that I could walk to and carry my groceries that are within 1 mile. The area that we're considering is this area here that's off of Sauk Lake. And one of the things that I found that was very interesting is just really understanding what a food desert is. You hear it a lot. What is a food desert? The United States Department of Agriculture defines it as an urban city that has at least 500 residents. And I think you guys have about 9,930. You have 3,000 homes. So according to the United States Department of Agriculture, if you have more than 500 in an urban area, it has to go more than 1 mile. So think about that. You live in this area. Have you had to travel more than 1 mile for a grocery store? And not just any grocery store, but fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. That's important to us. Even though we may be underrepresented, healthy food is important to us. I just want to brag for a second. I'm running for the first time the Chicago Marathon, and I like to eat everything. But I was told this week that I have to eat healthy stuff. It's not just about the running, but it's about healthy food. And I'm so happy that I can walk down the street and get healthy food. This is a proposal that we have for Sauk Village. For you to be able to walk down the street and get healthy food, you may or may not be running a marathon, but you want healthy food for your family. You want healthy food for your children. And for me, I was taking care of my aging parents in Country Club Hills. I wanted healthy food for them. So why is this important? It's important because with food deserts, you have poor diet. You also have inequity. So most of the time, when we have to go to a grocery store and you're in a food desert, you have to drive. You're spending money. You're spending time. So it's more than not just having it here, but it's the amount of time and amount of money that has to be spent. It's a community asset. So when you are in a community, you get a chance to meet other people. And like me, growing up in the city, I walked to the grocery store with my neighbors. I knew my neighbors. It creates a community. It's a community asset. And also, it helps with taxes. It helps provide sales tax. So the goal is to create a food with options for additional economic development for Sauk Village. One of the problems that generally grocery stores have is they don't make a lot of money. It's low margin. And that's one of the reasons why generally grocery stores are not open in underrepresented communities. And I'm going to talk to you about how we can circumvent that. So our solution is to create a grocery store, and I'll show you the space that, you may know this already, but I'll show you the space that I'm referring to. So, I talked to you about some of the reasons already, but in addition to Sauk Village, I did a Google search for grocery stores that was within this entire area. And so the South Suburbs has 45 villages, municipalities, really 60. It's 45 under South Suburban Mayors and Managers and Association. They have groups of suburbs that are together. So I think Sauk Village is like with Ford Heights, South. I may mess this up. I know they're with Glenwood and Linwood, But when you look at this area, it's not just Sauk Village, but this entire area makes up about 60,000 people in what we consider the south central area of the south suburbs. And there are not any grocery stores. I think there is a Waltz and there is a Jewel's, and you guys probably know even better than me what's available that has fresh fruits and vegetables. So the Southland started this conversation back in about 2022, 2023. So we talked to operators that are interested in coming to Sauk Village. We have other operators that we're interested in talking to that has been suggestion from your community. And so we have experience there. This is the targeted area, so I highlight the PIN numbers off of Sauk Trail in zoning C2. The site area is about 90,000 square feet, so that's a small footprint for a grocery store. This is the plat of the survey. You can see that in your presentation. And now I want to talk about the budget. That's what's important. It's like, this sounds great, but who's going to pay for the construction of a grocery store? This is where the good news comes in. The good news is the reason I'm here today, and the reason I probably showed up for the last couple meetings, even though it wasn't as hot as it is today, is because we have a grant that can start this construction. Is We Rise Together, and we need that grant. We need the parcel of land to be transferred to us by the next meeting, which is June 24th, in order for us to use the money for that grant. In addition to the grant, we also have two other grants earmarked, and we talked about one of them, that's DCEO, and another one that we're looking at is Chicago Community Land Fund, CCLI. And so for the total uses of construction, tenant improvements, professional services, equipment installation, carry costs, the land, it's a little less than $6 million. And with our budget, we have the funds to be able to cover that. So then you're asking, well, it's easy. What's in it for us? Well, we need the land transferred to us, and there's some other small things around utilities that we'll also need some help with, and I'll talk a little bit more about. So I wanted to give you guys just an idea about what the actual net profit would look like. So starting this off, there is going to be a loss. And the reason that there is a loss is because purchasing inventory, paying for employees, that money has to come from somewhere. So we have to start somewhere. So there is a loss. The thought is that after 2 years, which is really, really fast, and the reason it's fast is because we're looking at a small footprint. It's not a large footprint like a Walmart or anything like that, that we would actually start to be able to make money. Now remember, this is managed by the Southland Development Authority and operated by a local operator. So this is, I just did kind of some assumptions of like what money is spent on, just so you can see in a grocery store where the sales comes from, where the cost of goods come from. So around deli, dairy, canned goods, all of those things, you can see a percentage. And so again, the goal is for this not to be someplace where you can just get cigarettes, but someplace you can get healthy food from your family. This is not so important, but I just wanted to share with you guys, just doing some research. We hope that property taxes are low, that's the goal, but this is just kind of a comparison of what property taxes are in grocery stores in cities that are in the south suburban area. And you can see the closest one, which is new, and that's La Chinita, and that's in Linwood. So that's the closest one, that's a new one. I think they're doing a great job with that. The reason I talked about this region and it not just being Sauk Village is people will be coming in from those other cities. And I don't know, like, if you guys have some favorite stores you go to. Like, I love Pete's. Even though I'm in the city, it's one that's on Lincoln Highway. I just love their food, so I drive to that. If you have a good grocery store, not just Sauk Village would use it, but other cities that are in the area would have use of that store. And so this is what we're looking for. We're looking for the village to support Class 8 real estate tax designation. We're looking for the site to be cleared of debris, and I'll have to tell you, we did our South Suburban bus tour, and we actually rode over it. It's clean, so that's not something that you would have to do anything with. We would ask for you to waive tap and permit fees. This area that we're looking at is already in the enterprise zone, so that's already indicated by the GIS map. We're looking to authorize tax sharing to support a facade improvement program. So there is money in grants that you can actually get for a facade, so that would actually benefit both of us. And then certain utilities should be placed in public easement and furnished by the village. And so that's the only request that we have is utilities and a transfer of the land. And so then what's the timing? So I talked about June 24th because our actual date is June 30th. We're asking for control of the parcel. We're asking to finalize agreements with existing operators that we talked to, and I wanted to show you guys really, really quick some of the operators that we've spoken to already. And this is the opportunity for me to listen to you if there's someone else that you have in mind. The expectation is the grocery store opens in 2027. And here's the catch. If we do nothing within the 2 years, we will deed that land back to you. That's very different than any offer that you've heard before. I know we've talked about this in the past, but this is something that we're committing to. And this is in the additional documents that I have as attachments to the presentation. This is just historical timeline, talk a little bit kind of where we started in 2022. The plan is to do groundbreaking in 2026 and construction in 2027, hiring and staffing in 2027, and expected operation in 2027. This is just the timeline of the meetings and what's the actual next steps. Potential grocery stores, you guys heard of Save-A-Lot. They do a smaller footprint. It's Yellow Banana. It's one of them. We've had conversations with them already. They're interested. Another one is Harvest Time. They're family-owned and operated grocery store in Chicago. We've talked with them and they're interested. The other one is Vizio's, and there are some pros and cons with Vizio's. I love Vizio's. They have the good chicken, rotisserie salad and all that. It may or may not be the best fit for Sauk Village. They sometimes can be a little bit on the pricier side, but they do have really, really good food. There are a couple more stores that were suggested and that came from you guys, the village, and that's Country Square and Aldi. Aldi was leaving the area. They potentially may be wanting to come back to the area, but those are potential operators that we can speak to. Some additional information that I've shared with you, I won't go through at this time, but they're documents that you can read, and this really gets into the MOU, the ordinance, conveyance ordinance, and term sheet. I'll give you my information. I'll be willing to answer any questions about that. Really, the summary is land should be transferred. The parcel should be transferred by June 30th. We will start construction on it. We will identify operators, and those operators are in conjunction with you guys. So before we pick anybody, we would come back and say, these are the operators that we agree with. We're just not going to pick. Well, let your cousins have good grocery stores, then we're going to pick your cousins. And so those are the documents. So that is the conclusion of my presentation. I promised that I would only take around 15 minutes. But if you have any questions, I would be open to answer those questions at this time. Yes. He was asking if about the enterprise zone intent.
Really?
Does it get legal count?
I think you're asking about legal counsel.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, so we have an attorney, Brent Denson. So he is very familiar with the village. He would be working with the village. And so the goal is that over the next week, if you guys have any questions, you want the attorneys to review the documents, you want the attorneys to talk to our attorney. He is available. He's as available as early as tomorrow. They all know about, the presentation and the timing and everything.
Okay, we have a question back. We have a question back here, and I know the trustees here, they can answer the question. We need you. Excuse me, can you give your name, sir? Excuse me, sir.
It's 394.
Ed McCauley.
Sauk Trail at 394.
How do you do, man? My name is Larry Sapp.
Hi, Larry.
I have a couple of questions regarding the conveyance of the land. And you're saying that this has to happen within the next 2 weeks. If the board doesn't do that in the next 2 weeks, will this be off the table? And also, with regard to what you're asking the village to do with regard to picking up the utilities, if the village is expected to pay the utilities and to pay the land, is there a time frame with how long the village is expected to pay the utilities, or is that indefinite?
So no, it's not for them to pay the utilities. It's really to get utilities on the site. And I think the cost of that was about $100,000. And so the timing of construction that'll go along with, us working together with the timeline of, when the actual parcel would be available. So it's not for them to pay utilities, but to have the utilities on the land. I'm sorry. The comment was about utilities. He thought that I was saying that the village would have to pay for utilities. The village would have to pay for utilities to be set for construction. And he was asking, what's the timing of that? And that would go along with the construction. Yes.
I have one.
I want to address the trustees. Okay.
My question is, I'm a long time resident. Yeah, they're not up loud enough. Now, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. My name is Myrna Pearson. I'm a
Just talk
longtime
really
resident-
straight in the right.
Long-time resident of Sauk Village. Give me a better description where you're talking about putting the grocery store.
So
Not
it's-
description on the screen,
It's
Southwest
Sauk,
corner.
it's Sauk Trail in 394 at that point.
Where the restaurant.
Where is it, Tornado?
Or across.
Yes.
She just asked where it would be located at, and they were just saying by the post office. That was the basic question and the basic answer. Okay. Was there one more, and then we?
My name is Henrietta Favors, and I would like to know, is that the only option, is Aldi's? Is that the only, we're gonna get healthy foods. So can you give me some better stores besides the two that you just named?
Oh, so I gave you 5. So I gave you Harvest Time, Yellow Banana, Vizio's, Country Squire, and Aldi's. But what I said was that I'm open to hear any additional ones that you guys would have in mind. That would be a joint agreement.
Like Whole Foods, for instance?
Do you think Whole Foods would work here?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what I'm asking.
Sure. Yeah, so it would be a joint decision between the village and the operators if it would be something that would make money here in the village. And it's healthy and affordable for the village.
Okay, I had one quick question because you said if you did not do anything with the land, of course the land would come back to the village.
Within 2 years.
Within 2 years. Okay. Anything is very broad for me. So do you mean if you did not put a grocery store, that anything can be anything? So I would think
We only have plans for proposal for grocery store.
Okay, I was just clarifying what you stated. That's all. I just wanted to clarify what would be in the contract if they agree. Thank you.
We have trustees, so we're going to go with trustee Sapp first. I'm going to ask residents, if you've not asked the question already, to reserve it until we get to public comment at this point, so that our trustees can weigh in and we'll get your feedback at the appointed time. Typically, we do not allow question and answer, so we provide a deference because it's a very hot topic. But now we're going to resume our regular procedures, and trustee Sapp, your hand was raised first.
Ms. Hardy, you're asking, I just want to be clear, you're asking the village to give you the land, give you a tax break, clean the site, pay with the infrastructure,
What was that about the infrastructure?
the water, the electricity, we have to put on, do all that as well. Why would we do that?
So if you look at the full, sure, the full amount of a grocery store costs about $6 million, as you can see on the construction costs. Right now, you have no grocery store. So we're saying at a small cost, you can have a grocery store to provide fresh foods to your family. If that's something that is important to you and important for you to have here, then I would say that would be the reason to transfer the land and have the utilities.
Trustee Sterling?
Hi, so I know they were talking about where this grocery store would be. I don't think you're saying about a post office, but is it right by the Popeyes, in between the Popeyes and the Sugar Shack, right? Is that where we're talking about, that area there?
Well, really, Sugar Shack is further down, so really you're looking at Popeyes is here, there's a lot of open space there, and then Tornado is there. So they're talking about the land that's between Tornado and Popeyes.
Gotcha. Also, if this goes through, everything gets approved and you're able to get your funding and everything, you're saying by June 30th, right? So if all that goes on, how long before it gets started with, construction, or is it the next step would be to talk with the different grocery stores and then you would go with construction?
Right. So the next step would be to identify who that grocery store and operator is. And so I would come back to you guys with more detailed proposals for those grocery stores. And again, if there's any additional ones that you guys are interested in, outside of the 5 that I shared, then just share those with me so that we can have a conversation with the operators.
So basically, right now, you're just trying to get the land.
Yes, right now we're just trying to get to land, but we've had conversations with 3 of the operators already.
3 already.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, trustees?
Thank you. My question is, you said we're gonna have this grocery store up and running in 27.
Yes.
The other question I have is, you guys been working on this for what, 2 years already? Or, well, I think this has been brought back to us, kind of like the same thing. We did this 2 years ago. We still don't see any plans. So I want to know, are we looking at a grocery store to look like this? What type of, we asked for plans the last time. We still need to see plans this time. We really want to know what style, what type of grocery store, and really how that grocery store is going to look, the aesthetics of it. In addition to that, Sauk Village has put it in a lot. What is it going to take for a grocer to make a commitment? So now you've talked to them, they understand the location, where it's going to sit. So what is it requiring for them to just make that commitment? Because every time you guys come back, you're saying you're still looking, and you're still looking. What is it going to take for that grocery store to commit to your project? Because we would love, if you're going to do this, we need that grocer to be already on board. So what are they looking for?
They need the land to be available.
Okay.
So that's first step. And you asked about aesthetics. And if you think about it, what I shared with you was 5 different type of grocery stores. That's a sample, just a picture of what one would look like. All of these is going to look like an Aldi's. A Bizio's is going to look like a Bizio's. But what I found was what we would call a small footprint grocery store. So that's not going to look like a Jewel's, right? But it would be more of a kind of a small, you've been past Bizio's, right? And Country Squire, those are kind of small footprints. Just think about that. So we can't give you a look until we actually identify who the operator is.
So the operator is actually going to rent out the space from you guys, Southland Development.
That's correct.
Does these operators generally build their own stores? I know Audi build their own stores, Whole Foods. So most of these operators, they build their own stores with the exception of Save-A-Lot. They generally go into a mall and just rent out space that's already provided. But Save-A-Lot, Whole Foods, Audi's, those type of stores build their own. So what is the probability that stores that build their own structure is going to lease from a structure you build?
So all these, I would say, is one of the ones that's a little different in this scenario. In that case, all these would probably purchase from us. And so instead of leasing from us, they could purchase from us. But outside of that, the conversations have been us running it, them being the operators. They have not talked about building. And again, the money that you see for building is really grants that the Southland Development Authority would be getting. They're public, and they would not be able to get those grants. We're a nonprofit, so we can actually get those grants for construction.
So now you're giving us a few days to make a major decision in order for you to get the grant money. But these things, we need to sit down with our village administrator, we need to sit down with our mayor, we may need to sit down with the attorney. We can't do any of that in just a few days and really get a really good understanding. I would like for someone to look over all of this.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we started the conversations. It's been a while, so it's nothing new to the attorneys. Our attorneys have looked at it. I don't know if your old attorneys or new ones have looked at it, but it's a conversation that they can have. I wish more than anybody what it wasn't last minute. I wish we could have talked about this last month. I wish I could have talked about this last year.
Why not?
I wasn't able to get on the agenda until today. But I don't want this to be last minute, but I think the conversation was had. We're bringing it, bringing it back up as kind of a last pitch. I'm excited about it, and I hope you guys are excited about it. Thank you.
Very much. We're going to entertain one more question. Trustee Sauk.
Ms. Hardy, the last presentation we had was done by a gentleman by the name of Bo. He had the same deadline for the funding. How is that possible?
The deadline didn't change.
He was here. He needed a decision by the end of the month. You are have said the same thing.
It is the same.
We're going to hear the question.
Bo, yeah, it's the same deadline. Bo and I are the same group. Bo is my boss. He's the CEO. I'm the president. So nothing's changed. I'm going in for my last pitch.
He was here a couple years ago. So you guys got the grant extended? You got it extended?
The deadline is June 30th.
Thank you, Ms. Hardy. Trustees, a decision for you to make at this moment. You heard the presentation, you've asked questions, you heard the residents' questions. Now the question I have for you, shall this proceed to the board meeting for consideration for adoption this coming Tuesday? We have 2 to say yes and 2 to say no. So this is how we're going to handle it. Okay. And I can understand your unreadiness, but this is how we're going to handle it. That we will place it on the agenda. Those who are in agreement with it, you would vote yes. Those that are not, you would vote no. Is that fair? Can we live with that going in that direction? Fantastic. What would you suggest? But we can't table at the committee of the whole meeting. We have to be tabled with action being tabled. Make your decision over the weekend, and we'll revisit this on Tuesday. But we can't table it today. That's what we just said. I'm not following, but we're not going to go there. We're going to move on. I don't understand. If I say that we're going to put it on,
The question that I'm asking, you're asking us a question, do we want to move it forward? I'm saying I'm not ready to move it forward. But then you're saying 2 said yes, 2 said no. I said, well, do we have a choice? If we don't, then it's going forward.
your choice is yes or no.
Mine is no.
But
Right.
this is not where we table.
But you said we can't table.
Next Tuesday.
You said we can't table,
We
correct?
can't table today.
Correct. Okay.
Okay?
So we're just going to put it on the agenda.
We'll put it on the agenda and let the vote fall where it may.
I want to let you know I ain't heard half of none of this. I have not heard. I'm just going to let you all know. I haven't hardly heard anything of his presentation. I could barely hear the speaker. I couldn't hear anything the audience was saying. I couldn't hear any of what my colleagues were saying. So I'm just letting you all know. I have no clue really of what anyone was saying.
I'm going to talk to the chairperson, and I'm the chair, not the coordinator. Let's move on. The next item on the agenda is no, he's not the internal village administrator. He's the interim village administrator. Interim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, Board of Trustees, and the residents. Roughly about a month ago, I gave you all a packet for the Village of Sauk Village financial policy and procedures. So basically, at this point, it's either we're going to put it on the agenda for next week for a vote, or if you have any discussion, questions about it, please ask those questions. But pretty much, I'm just here to ask you all to put it on the agenda for a vote next Tuesday.
I can remember that he passed these out, about a month ago, did you say? And he asked that you do some homework in between the time that he could bring it back. This is the time that he's bringing the financial policy and the procedures back. We have been trying to get a procedural manual, standard operating procedures since 2017. Right now, we are sorely lacking of any processing procedures, and it causes us a lot of grief. It has over the years. So we talked about not just this one, but developing processes and procedures for all of our departments and for everything that we have going forward, so that we don't have to question. We know what you are voting on, you know what the process is supposed to be. I'm not going to ask how many of you have actually read this, but I am asking how many of you are ready with any questions and or recommended changes to the document. If so, can we speak on that now?
I did go through the manual and I highlighted a lot of things. However, I really see no need for changes based on what's here. I'm okay with it.
I didn't see a portion here where the trustees were dealing with our committee and our budget. Is that in here as well? How? Because I find that every committee have their own budget as well, and I didn't see anything about in here how we are to operate. We have a budget, we have money in our budgets, but we're told we can't take it out. What are the procedures? If we have a budget, if there's money there, when can we use it? What is the procedure for us to be able to use it? So we as a board need to understand how to use our own budgeted line item, and I didn't see that here.
So to answer your question, no, there's nothing in here particular for the trustees, but the way the policy and procedure is set up, you operate as a vendor. When you go out to spend your money, the process is you'll turn your form in, which is a check request form that we have. You'll fill that out, get your receipts or whatnot, we'll sign it, turn it in, and it goes to accounts payable. Now, what's going to be allowed for you to use that money for, that's going to be determined in the budget. So if you, for instance, says it's $1,000 and a chairperson can use it for whatever they want to as it relates to that committee, then that's what's going to be discussed with the budget when we start doing the budget. But as far as the process of actually getting your money, you have to fill out a form as a vendor would, submit it to accounts payable, we put it on accounts payable, and then the following week or whenever the next accounts payable is due, you got to vote on it.
So that is the procedure. So are we able to do those things now? Or is there a certain time we can do that? Because why can we do it now?
You technically yes, but actually no, because there's no official budget. We haven't had a budget that you guys fall under. The last approved budget, I think, was in 2022. So I'm assuming during that time, money has transpired as well as been used. So yes and no, in the sense that you don't have a current budget, but if there's money that was in a previous budget, then the answer still go through the same process. You fill out the form and then it gets dispersed.
Thank you.
May I add to that,
Yes.
if you don't mind? Because I honestly believe that once monies are set aside for trustees' committees, then you could follow the same process that he just said, but it's no different than, say, our department is. the department heads, when they get ready to spend money and or when they encumber money, they complete the check request, state which vendor the check needs to be written out to, what it was, the description, and the cost. That's it. The process is basically the same. The documentation is the same. The only thing that's different at this point in time is that the department heads, well, generally, when you don't approve a future budget, then we usually defer back to the previous one. And each year, we have to do an ordinance or we have to approve that we will still operate on the previous budget. The difference is, in the past, the trustees really only received $1,000 for their committees. It is my hope that as you look at your committee needs at this point, that you will share with the village clerk who is tasked with putting together the budget for the elected officials. So, no, you can't submit for reimbursement or for a check if the funds have not been allocated yet. So I'm certain that's why our interim village administrator just stated that that would not be a process that you would do right this minute. Going forward, after we go through the budget process and your budget items and lines have been approved, then that's the process that we're going to do.
So my question is, because you mentioned department heads, so department heads are still using budgets and still spending money from budgets we do not have and that has not been approved. And if we are still operating off a 2022 budget, if there are still funds that were left in our budgets, committee budget, then we should also be able to use them.
Okay, I think that maybe you didn't hear what I was saying when I stated that typically when you fail to approve a budget for your next fiscal year, which we failed to do for the last 2 years. Typically what we would do, and I'm going to invite you maybe to go back and research some minutes, and you will see that trustees had to approve utilizing the 2022 budget. Why do I know that? Because we had to submit that document, that resolution, saying that it was approved, that we would use that same budget. We wouldn't increase it, we wouldn't decrease it, it would be the same. And we had to submit that to the state treasurer's office, Cook County, okay? And we did that. We met those guidelines. So, even though we know expenses have rose substantially since 2022, the departments have had to operate on those budgeted funds from 2022. Now, I'm going to say this to trustees. In 2022, trustees were allocated $1,000 for your committees. I can't remember, I know I asked, when I was responsible for the budget for the elected officials, I know that I requested that funds be set aside and allocated under a uniform line for you. I can't remember how much that was, but it was, I know, at least 600. But that was for you to buy, like, a beautiful shirt that trustee here is wearing, and you also. In the past, the mayor's administrator purchase the shirts. Ask you what size, she may or may not have asked you what color. What we talked about before when we talked about the uniform was that you be allocated X number of dollars. You could go out and purchase whatever you would want and then have the logo embroidered on it. For instance, the jacket that Trustee Sterling is wearing, if she wanted to take that to a store and get them to embroider on it, she could have bought it with her funds, paid for the embroidery. The embroidery is usually no more than $15, so that's nothing. And then that would be your particular attire. Can you remember these conversations any of you that were existing? Do you remember? I saw one person shake her head. You remember, so a couple remember. So, I mean, that choice is yours, but right now, because in 2022, you were only allocated in the budget, I'll just say less than $2,000, okay? So I don't think that what some of your plans may be would fit within that 2022 budget. So my suggestion is that you lobby for the items you think that you need and the amount you think that you need, the same way as the department heads have to come in here and justify their ask. I would suggest that you do the same. The only thing, excuse me, yours would come through the village clerk.
Well, I'm just saying, just last year for Christmas, there were still funds. I'm just saying, just last year, we were asked to share our budget just last year for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I know for one, I was one that said I would share $500. So also we understand that we are all operating, supposed to be, and we're not, but we're supposed to be operating off of the 2022 budget. And until we get another budget, that budget remains the same continuously for us as well as everyone else until we get a new budget. So again, if I was asked just a few months ago to help with the Christmas and Thanksgiving, and I had money then, I still should have money now.
You would have the same amount. The money doesn't roll over. It doesn't roll over.
No.
If you don't use it one year, it's not added to whatever the allocation is for the following.
Are you saying we losing?
If you don't use
No,
it.
well, no, Mayor, you just said, Mayor, wait a minute, give me a moment. Is there any, okay, before we go here, I need to understand, where is the rule that says if we, as trustees who have our own budget, if we don't use our funds, we lose our funds? That is not how the department heads work. They don't lose their funds if they don't use their funds. And
I see a budget, I see a department head shaking his head saying, yes, they do.
okay,
And to still read.
but if we can't take our money out, how can we use it? That is what I'm saying.
That was the issue last year because
Yeah.
it's interesting that you raised, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this.
But we gotta know.
We're talking about financial policies and procedures.
And we have to be in these procedures.
As I said, you operate basically the same as department head. But since you mentioned Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Yes.
if you can remember, you were not allowed to share that information with those committees. It never came out. So when we look at budget to actuals, how much were you budgeted and how much did you actually spend? That we never computed because we were never able to donate monies to the Thanksgiving dinner for the Christmas. In fact, that was one reason that one of them got canceled. I think Christmas was canceled.
Right.
Because we just did not have the funds. But
It's
this
not that we
one-
didn't have the funds, it's just that the previous administration wouldn't allow us to use our funds. Like you know, for sure, I had the funds. That's why I was able to offer $500 to the Christmas. The funds were there. We were just forbidden to use them. So I want to make sure that we have a comprehensive policy that's written for the trustees as well.
Okay, so
Because too many times, let me finish. No, okay, well, I'm going to finish anyway. I'm going to finish anyway because you're being disrespectful.
No, I'm not.
I want to make sure that the trustees have a budget and a policy and procedure, because too often we have been denied using our budget, denied using our monies for the things we need. So we have things that we're trying to do, and we need to be able to use our funds. So we've been stopped, we've been blocked, and we've been denied. We're looking at a financial policy, and as a result, I'm saying I want to make sure that the trustees will fair shake like everyone else, and we use our funds. Okay, so I'm just saying, okay, Mayor, I'm talking, why you keep interrupting me?
No.
Stop it. You don't want me to do that to you, so don't do that to me. So again, please include that we're going to talk about that, because the trustees need to be able to use our budget just like everyone else. Thank you.
It's on you.
Mayor, can we please remember for each topic, for each trustee, we only get to speak twice so we can keep it moving? I was trying to indicate to you that we only get to ask 2 questions per topic.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
If I have a question, I'm about question. And if I need clarity, I need clarity.
It goes back.
Okay, this was one question I had about a topic. So that's it.
Learn your material.
I need to, trustee, you can stop. You can stop. You tell me, you cannot tell me what I can say and can't say.
Can you please tell me?
There is a policy that I'm asking to make sure that the trustees are in the policy. Because too many times, we have not been able to use our funds. It's only $1,000. I will ask for my funds, I can never get them. So there you go.
Trustee Burns.
Again,
Trustee Burns. I will put it in.
the board,
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's all I'm asking. Please write it in.
Ms. Mayor,
That's what he asked you to do a month ago. All you have to do is write it in. But let's not.
I did not see, we did ask them, that's why I'm talking about it now, because I talked about it a month ago and it was not put in the policy. That's the reason why I'm bringing it up, Mayor.
Can you, I'm asking for the floor.
Still not there.
Let's not force other residents to leave just like a couple just left. We haven't decided. We don't need to talk about it anymore. He said he was gonna.
Thank you, and that's all I need. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Trustee John.
can you please address this board about the rules of order,
You
please?
know what? I gave you guys no, we're not gonna go there.
Right, Robert Rules of Order is not
Again,
a state statute.
on each
Robert Rules of Order has 600 rules. We can choose to use them or not. They are not state statutes, they are recommendations. I want to be able to use my funds, and I want it to be written in policy. So you can say what you want, but when it's time for me to operate under my budget, I want to be able to do so. So again, I will speak with the village administrator to make sure that it's put in policy. Period. That's it.
Plus, were you finished with it? Did you have a question? I'm sorry. You would see Sterling. Whatever you want to talk about. Can you talk about it, please?
Do you want to talk about the other thing first before I ask that question?
No, you go ahead and ask the question.
Okay, my question was, I know Mr. Finch, he was talking about the budget review he was going to have along with the department heads, and you were saying like in June, so I just wanted to say, what's the ETA on that?
So you're correct that we are trying to do the budget review in June, but as I informed the mayor the other day, part of the problem, when you do the budget review, when you do a budget, you go off historical data. That's how you should make a budget. Unfortunately, in the accounting system that we have now, they did not enter data accurately in the system. There's payments, for instance, for like NICOR. There's, for instance, today we found out that credit card payments for residents have not been updated. So I can give you a budget review, but if you look at a number, for instance, I showed the public works director. His budget was $6,000, but his expense already in last year was $68,000. He can't tell you what that is. So it would do you guys no justice if I brought you a budget and asked you what dollar amount should be in the 26 budget. Should it be $6,000 or $68,000? So what we're finding out now is, as I take deep dive into it, a lot of the financial information that needs to be in for an accurate budget review is not in. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna present the budget for 2026 with the caveat that those numbers that are in there are gonna either be understated or overstated. And we're gonna have to, kind of what the mayor alluded to earlier, make the decision based off the 2022 budget, which was the last one that has been approved. So you can get a budget review. We have picked the date and time for it, but it's not going to be a true reflection of historical data because the data is not in there like it should be posted.
Okay. Let's move to the next item, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is a proposal for a marketing and PR consultant group to come in and help the village. So you guys have received this in the email, as well as I passed out printed copies to you guys a little while ago. So hopefully you guys had time to review it, maybe via email. And again, if you guys have questions, we can address those now. But this is also something that potentially should be on next week's agenda.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, let's move forward. The next item on the agenda is one that's under.
No, are we putting this on the agenda for next week?
Oh,
And as well as the financial policy?
what's your preference on both of these items?
I'd rather for our portion, the trustees' portion, to be added to the policies before we move forward.
Is it possible that you can have that in sent to you before?
I can send out tomorrow, yes.
Thank you. That will be your, okay? How do we want it? Should they send everything to the clerk?
Yes, I'll send it to the clerk with the show where it's edited, this policy, but it's 53 pages, and then the clerk can disseminate it among the trustees.
Okay. So, what about the next one, the review proposal for the PR marketing? I can remember when I first mentioned it, when we talked about positions, a number of the items, as oh yes, we really need that. So, this is not something that really would need anything other than you're looking at the proposal and basically saying they don't.
Is this in the budget?
No, it's not.
So why are we entertaining it right now?
That's a very good question. It's a very good question. It will be withdrawn. Thank you. Moving on. Since thank you, sir. Since 2017, January of 2017, in fact, the state requested resolutions annually or to consider conferences and allocation of conferences. The only one that I really was responsible for was the IML conference. And so I'm bringing that back to you again. I thought that I had the old resolution in here, but I don't see that in the packet either. But in terms, I'm sorry? Yes. That's quite okay. That's quite okay. We'll move on. So, generally we do a resolution. Each year we bring to you consideration, or if you would want consideration, to increase what is called the per diem. In the past, they called the per diem something else, but it really was not a per diem, okay? So, if you look, you see one thing that says general registration. It shows you the conference package. Know that generally the village pay up front for your conference registration. So you don't have to pay for that. It is done on site, and depending on what you choose, what type of registration you choose, it's either $325, I believe. $375 if you do it on site. We never do on site. We do what can be done in advance. I'm going to share something with you. Usually it was $300, and you trustees would get that $300 check prior to attending the conference, with the knowledge that when they come back, they have to submit records, receipts, and also complete the request form for reimbursement. For the last couple of years, we've had so many problems getting trustees to follow through on their end of doing so. And it got so bad that this year, we finally just decided it would come out of their meeting cycles. They never turned it in, and they did not come back and give a presentation to the other trustees so that it was like a shared learning opportunity that didn't happen. So we took the monies out. I don't want to have to go through that this year, but it's not a matter of I. Do I think, as I said before, the $300 was sufficient? Absolutely not. That $300 is something that they came up with way before 2017, but I didn't go to the conference last year, but many of you did. You're staying downtown Chicago. It's breakfast, lunch, dinner, those that are not included in the registration, is very costly. In a lot of instances, parking by itself is very expensive, and it takes up almost all of that $300. I'm not just trying to open up a floodgate and throw out money at us, okay? But it is customary that generally when an organization support a conference, which is one that they have membership with, that you would not incur significant expenses out of your pocket. So, know that registration has started already, and the hotel that we're at this year is larger than the ones that were before. So in the past, we rushed through in June to make certain that we knew who was registering, so we could get you at least a room on site and not have to go to an extended hotel. I do want to do this the right way. I would like to know if you are planning to attend. That's why I put this document here. Generally, if we pay registration for anyone, and if you cancel, then you are responsible for that payment. The village will not assume responsibility for your cancellation. Those are all things that I would like for you to think about And for that reason, I'm not going to ask that we vote on this next year, but I am willing to listen to a discussion in terms of the price point, how to handle those who are negligent in terms of following through with what they need, their paperwork, and their presentations going forward. And so the floor is open for discussion. And what we discussed and what we agree upon, we will then have the attorneys draw up the resolution and present that to you, not next week, but the following committee of the whole. So I am willing to hear what you have to say.
So like you said before, we're gonna get an increase in the stipend.
I didn't say that.
Well, if we consider it. The question I have is, before we were given the funds, so before we were given the fund, and we were able to spend those funds, and then we had to turn in receipts. Actually, my housekeeper threw away the whole envelope with all the receipts. So I had to go through manually calling everyone. But that's so we get are we doing that? We're gonna operate the same, we're gonna get the funds up front and then do exactly the same?
I'm sorry. What I said was we were going to open it up for discussion and you decide if we want to do it in the way that we did it before. As I shared with you some of the complexities that we had in doing that way, I also asked for you to consider if the price should increase. Those are all things that I was asking that the trustees engage in with me for discussion. So, I was just giving you historical information in terms of how items have been passed. I have a hand raised from Sterling.
For this money, this stipend that you said we're getting, so this money, is this part of the budget?
Yes.
So with us working from a 2022 budget, and there's nothing been approved since then, how can we really have a increase on something? We really don't know. How do we know if it's going to be, I want to say, is it going to be covered if we try to do something increase?
The thing is, it's important that we have the resolution on file. The conference is not until September.
Right.
So funds would not be encumbered right now. So then the onus would be on you as we're looking again at the elected officials' budget, then you would have to entertain that amount that you would give to Clerk Williams to have put in the budget.
Okay, so that's the budget from our committee, correct?
No.
No?
We're not talking about your budget now, for your committee. You're going to do that.
Okay.
But then you're going to also, if you choose to increase the stipend for the item L, you would include that in the budget too. So by the time we leave and by the time you come back, that budget better be approved.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Yes, Trustee Sapp.
So I did.
Talk louder, please.
Hello. I did attend the conference last year at the Hyatt. It was very nice. It is more costly, and you do have to have money on your card when you check in. So an increase from 300 to whatever would be a great help for some of us who are on fixed incomes and still want to attend. The parking is more. Everything is higher, but it is a very nice hotel.
I love the Hyatt.
I just want to reiterate, like Trustee Sterling says, we're still going to get our budget review for June this month. I don't know if we're still doing that or not.
I am pushing for but at least the very first, usually we have 3 reviews. I'm pushing for at least the very first one to lay out the parameters and all of that. That's what I'm pushing for. That's what I'm pushing for. Okay?
So everything that we're doing now is for us to submit for this new,
For the new budget.
gotcha, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, let's talk about the cost. Only because we're talking about this is per diem. Generally, the room that is ordered is usually the standard room. And usually the room rates are the same whether you get a single bed, a double bed, a king bed. The room rates are usually the same and you get the standard. If you wanted something more, then you would pay that difference. I will say that typically the mayor would get a junior suite. He would then invite some of the trustees to his suite and a number of the mayors to his suite. If I was to do the suite, I would invite all of the trustees with, like, what is it called? Not a happy hour, but a reception, hospitality. It would be our hospitality. The items that's in that room would not be taxed to the village. The items that's in the room would be a complimentary treat from your school. Okay? So, what should we have?
One question, because you did say something that the complimentary treat, we never got that before. So just make sure that that will be a part of putting that in the new budget as well.
It would be,
Under,
I said, I would,
directly from you.
I would be paying out of pocket. That's what I just said. I would pay out of pocket. It would not come from the village's budget.
I said to you, these conferences to learn.
Yes. The conference, attending the conference, thank you. This is a learning conference, and they have 40, 50, 60 different sessions on a myriad of items that's germane to our ability to represent the residents of Sauk Village, but then also to increase our awareness. I think one of the best things that I think about IUL is definitely for newer trustees who, within 90 days, they're supposed to go through the OMA training and the Florida training. They have the training there, and they give you your credit. For those who have to take it every year like clerk does, then she qualifies as well if she attends that. There's so many learning opportunities. I mean, yes, there's a lot of benefits, and some people take great favor with visiting the vendors. To get all of that little cheap stuff they give you, put in that bag, and then you sample, you go home, you don't want to take all of that home, so you take it out and leave it in the hotel, but it's just a thing that we do because it's free. But I am going to ask that if you are planning to go, that you attend the sessions. In this time, I will be quite adamant that either you bring back handouts or you do as I do, run to the back of the room and grab as many as I can, so I don't have to come and make the copies here. And that's how I usually give you guys all of the handouts that I get. And then I talk on it. And that's my expectation that each and every one of you would do it. So, I think that it would help Debbie, it would help the clerk if you completed both of these so that she can go in and enter it on their website. And then they invoice us and we pay for that. So that's the first thing that we usually do. Once you commit to attend, then we start looking at room assignments, rooming and everything. This is one of those events that you can take your spouse or significant other. However, there is a place where if you want them to attend some of the special dinners or whatever, you would pay for that. And then a lot of our vendors, they have receptions or whatever for us as well. Your spouse, significant other is invited at no extra cost. Are there any other questions in terms of what to expect that I can go right this minute? You don't have to take a minute right now to complete this. I am going to ask you if you're planning to go. The sooner we can get our reservations in, the sooner we can get our invoices, and we can pay IML, because if you talk about someone being a little nack when we owe them money, they're persistent. So we want to get them paid as soon as possible. The price doesn't change for registration. The only price that will change is how much per diem which you want, an advance check which you want. That would go in the resolution. I believe everything else in terms of traveling, if you would take the bus, or if you would take your car, and how much are we compensated, the state hasn't changed, it's reimbursement. All of that's the same. How many of you would want me to leave the 300 just in the resolution? You're not voting on the resolution. How many of you would want me to leave the 300 in the resolution that you will vote on coming up soon? She said we have no choice until we get the budget. As I was saying, the money wouldn't be expended until after the budget is approved. Okay?
So we would do the 300 as it stands in the resolution. And if, once the budget is approved, because this is not until September, so we have time. But once the budget is approved, then we
don't
can,
have time for the rooms.
300?
Please talk into the mic.
I think it increased would suffice.
Of how much?
At least 500.
I have 300, 500 on the floor. What say you? This is only for the resolution sake.
I say 300.
300. We need a couple more trustees.
Well, we can, for resolution's sake, for the next couple, until the next board meeting, we can only do 300. That is, we're operating off of the 2022 budget. We are not supposed to add more money if we haven't got a new budget.
Okay.
So I'm just saying 300.
Okay, so you know me. I try to be as diplomatic as possible, and I try to meet you guys in the middle. How about in the resolution, we put 3 to 500. And that's, again, with caveat pending the approved budget.
That's acceptable.
Does that work for everyone?
Yes, yes, yes.
Clerk, you got that? Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Fire Chief Stephen Barrett, you are next. Now, and we have a couple things from you. I have something that was in the packet. I don't know what this last thing is, but there was something in the packet, and then this was placed on my desktop. Which one are we operating from? This one? Everyone, the one that was placed on your desktop?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Board of Trustees and residents. I come before you this evening asking to allocate a purchase of a brand new ambulance for the village of Sauk Village. When we first got our ambulance back, we bought 2 used ambulances, and in those 2 years, we ran over 4,000 calls. Plus, over the weekend, 2 weekends ago, one of the ambulances blew a rod and it went into the engine and blew an engine block. So that ambulance is pretty much dead. So at this time, I'm asking if we can purchase a brand new ambulance. And I got 3 different prices, 3 different bids. They all are government bids. And I know the big question is, where will we get the money from? Our ambulance billing till today is at, and this should all be on that paper that I gave you, is $583,749.08. The ambulance that we will get will only cost, the cheapest one was $182,000. This would give us a lengthy time to have a good ambulance that's running for our residents and for our village.
Trustee Sack?
Chief, are you talking a new ambulance or are you talking a used vehicle?
No, it's a brand new ambulance. One of those, and we actually got a deal on it. One of the brand new spec ambulance going to be run anywhere between $300,000 to $400,000, and it takes 3 years to get. The one that I'm suggesting today, it is literally $182,000, and we can pick it up as soon as next week. Yes, ma'am.
Questions, Trustee Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, we just did this, what, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
Yes, ma'am.
And we bought 2 ambulances at that time.
2 used 2010 ambulances.
Right, so we had payments on those ambulances.
No.
We bought them right out?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did we pay?
One of them was $15,000.
15,000?
Yes, ma'am.
$15,000?
$15,000.
Those were not the numbers we had before.
Yes, ma'am. It was $15,000 for the last one that we bought, and the previous one before that was $90,000.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm looking at. So we bought one for $90,000 and it's totally gone as well?
It's breaking down.
For 90.
So that $90,000 wasn't just for the ambulance. It included a brand new heart monitor. It included a brand new stretcher, which all of that stuff is still good. We're not looking to purchase any of that. What we're looking to purchase is just the ambulance that will, one, cut down on our maintenance fees that we're using, and the other one is pretty much just cut down on our maintenance fees and giving our residents a proper ambulance to get to the hospital in case of emergency.
Now, if my memory served me correctly, you talked about the billing that you guys were going to have, and you gave us a whole schematics about how much billing, and that you were billing so well that you would be able to purchase your own ambulance.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened?
That's what you have in front of you. That's what I'm suggesting.
I mean, no, what I'm asking is, you're asking the village to give you money to buy a new ambulance?
I'm asking for it to come out of the ambulance billing. That's what I gave you this morning. That's in front of you.
Right here?
Yes, ma'am. That's how much we have in there. It's the 500 and
83,000?
yes, ma'am.
So this is what's in your billing right now?
Yes, ma'am.
And you need 102,000.
So even though that is in the ambulance billing, I personally don't think it's proper to just use that as a slush fund. I think it still should come before the board to get permission to use it, so that it's just not to hold accountability, two, to make sure that we're doing things in decency and in order, and just make sure that everybody communication and transparency is up front.
Well, I mean, it's our general policy, financial policy anyway, that if you're going to spend, matter of fact, we need to find out from the village administrator, how much are we as department heads able to spend before it even has to come to the board? Because I know $182,000, this amount of money must come before the board regardless.
Anything over $20,000 has to come before the board.
So it's 20,000?
According to the last procedure that we had in place, anything from $0 to $1,000, the department head did the approval. Anything up to $5,000, the village administrator was able to do it. And then anything up to $20,000, it was up to the mayor. And then anything over $20,000, it had to go before the board.
Okay, so I would like to know from our village administrator, is that also written in our financial policy? Okay.
Trustee Sauk is trying to share it with you.
Okay. So everything stayed the same. All right, so thank you.
Trustee Sterling?
Thank you, Barrett. So with this fund, the ambulance fund is specifically for things like this. If you need to get
Yes,
a new
ma'am.
ambulance or you need to get something fixed or whatever.
Yes.
And this does not come out of our general fund or nothing's coming from the village as far as payment. Thank you.
And I do want to share this with you, wonderful ladies, that we are ahead of last year. If you look at the paper, we only collected $360,000 in billing. This year, up just to today, we are already at $260,000. So we're looking to oversee what we brought in last year. So we're on a good track to make sure that we can continue to do our part and bring in the revenue. And that's with giving away $211,000 to other municipalities for running the second ambulance calls.
Yes, ma'am. That's a no. Don't be
So-
sorry.
So with the ambulance, we said we got the one that we got the used one for $90,000 is still in use, but is on.
Yeah, that's what we're using now, and it's literally hanging on by a thread.
So how many do we have? How
Right
many
now, we
ambulances
only
do
have one. The other one is not worth putting money into fixing the engine because it blew the whole engine awry. And this is what I'm afraid of. We were transporting a patient to Christ Hospital, and it blew the rod on the expressway. And so this is, it did its job for us, but I don't want to ever see that happen again to us or to our residents. So this ambulance is, again, if you look at the top of the one that I'm recommending, it's a 2025 ambulance remount. Everything on it is new. It's on the Osage.
So we're working on one ambulance for the whole village.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And up until today, we were using the Creek Township ambulance until this we got fixed. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
No, that's okay. I go around driving along with everyone else.
Thank you, Chief.
Would you consider buying two?
Yeah, that it was a I didn't want to push my luck. I wanted to see if I could get to one first. I didn't want to try to push my luck and trying to get the two.
But my suggestion is, as you're coming to the board, come based on your need and not what you just said, so that we can entertain it.
One time. Understood.
Thank you.
And
Yes. No, I asked him what he considered.
so again, this is out of your own budget, so. Oh, this is not out of general fund.
It's not out of general fund.
So if you want to get the three, you can.
No, you got to
No.
save some money for other emergencies.
Yeah, and that's the other part to it too. With the way things are happening, we lost both our ambulances in one weekend, so I didn't want to push the envelope.
Trustees, shall we put this on the agenda? Should we put on for his ask of 1 or for 2?
Asking for 1 or 2.
Yeah, we could do 2.
I mean, suggest I would ask for 2 if you're going to ask for something. I would get 2. You know you're going to need to, because the other one you're saying is already on the brink. So
Yeah.
So both of these would be $182,000
Or will they give us a
discount.
That's what I'll have to go back and ask. You know, I only talked about the one, so I will go
Right.
back and do my research to make sure that we do something that will be feasible to us and we don't lose a big chunk just in case of another emergency.
So do we want to, since you have to do research on 2, what do we want to do then?
Well, I would approve this one for next week because they're not going to hold it because these are like a high commodity.
Okay.
And we actually got favor on this one. It was actually supposed to go to Florida last week. And he said we was on his mind and he promised to hold it for us.
Okay, so we can do this. If you're going to purchase 2, we can move forward with this one, and then you can use this one to negotiate a better price possibly
Okay.
with the 2, and then just bring the other one back to us.
Okay.
Trustees, are you in agreement with her proposal? I see a hand shake no.
can you say that again, Trustee Burns?
So we were saying that if he's going to buy 2, usually if you're going to buy another something, you can get a discount. I'm saying that we can approve the 1 because he wants to use this to negotiate in order to get the other one. We can't actually approve both of them right now because we really don't know what the second one will cost until he negotiates the cost, using the fact that he's going to buy this one and a second one. So we can move forward on this.
Well, you won't make that determination. I think that what goes on the agenda will be based on what the 4 trustees who are before us decide. I've heard a couple of them say, go ahead and ask for 2. So now, are we agreeing split 2-2? Okay, we'll put it on the agenda that he's going to ask. An action item would be for us to approve the purchase of 2 ambulances with strong advisement to get as much of a discount as you can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
so that piece is settled. Thank you very much for your time. Trustees, thank you for your input. Trustee Burns, you are up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, we've had a really good discussion today regarding our budget. The budget is extremely important to me because what we're seeing is a lot of things coming before the board, asking for additional monies that has not been budgeted. And I think it is, we as the board have to make sure that additional monies that's not budgeted, we can't touch it. And we have to be consistent with that. We're supposed to get a budget, in a month or so. So let's just wait to get that and add what we're going to add or take away. But right now, we don't need to continue to add money to a budget that we don't have, and try and stay consistent to operating off the 2022 budget. So that brings me to my donation topic. It doesn't matter what it is. Of course, I would love to have additional monies for the IML and to spend and enjoy myself. But again, until that money is budgeted, we have to operate off the 2022 budget. So we have to be careful, no matter who's asking or what the ask is. If it's not in the budget, we can't do it. So I understand people look at me like that, but that is the procedure. And that's the procedure that we must follow. So donations, I would suggest, we gave out a donation that was not budgeted. We gave out a donation that only went to one individual. Well, we have several small entities that works with our villagers and children in our village. And I do believe that a $4,500 donation could actually be budgeted into our budget, and we can actually spread the love around, that other little businesses that's working with our residents, our children, we can actually donate to several entities so we can help them do what they need to do in our village for our residents. So I would suggest that we put a donation line in our budget, and that whole donation line could actually be $4,500, and it can spread around to help other entities that's actually working in our village. So I want to make sure that was very important to me, because after that donation, I got several calls asking if we can get $4,500, and I was like, no, that's not how it works. But again, if we're not operating properly, that's the type of situation that will happen. People will start looking for monies, and that's not how the village operates. So I want to make sure that if the mayor, once we start this type of situation, we can continue it. But if we're going to do it, it needs to be a line item, and it should be budgeted.
Trustee Burns, I have a question for you.
Yes,
I
Mayor.
agree with you, and that's one of the reasons why we developed the financial process and protocol, so that the procedure will be very equitable across the line.
Yes.
The only question that I have for you, relative to the line in the budget, would you want that to come from elected officials, or would you want that to come from the administration?
The administration.
Thank you.
So that was my thought for the donations, because I think we can help so many more. The other discussion, well, I did donations and then operating outside of the 2022 budget. As far as the cannabis dispensary, I'm going to table that right now. I'm going to put that on hold. There's some more information that we have coming available to us, and before we move forward with it, I want to get that information. But those are my two concerns: to stay within our budget and to make donations a part of our giving.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's received. Thank you. Moving on to Village Clerk Debbie Williams. No? Is it on?
You're working now?
You can do this part over here. Trustee Johnson, can you provide assistance? Yes. Exactly. I looked over there and I didn't see him. So I was
Can you hear me with this mic? Can you hear me with this mic? Are you hearing me?
No. You want to come sit here?
Mayor, does this need?
Can you hear me now? Good. This particular item has been on the agenda 3 times, and we have yet to be able to speak about it. But what it is the recodification of the ordinances that needs to be done, should be done. Can you hear me? Still can't hear me? How about this one? Can you hear me now? None of these work up here. Raven, can you hand me that mic though?
Testing, testing.
Those of you who don't know that we have to recodify our ordinances, it should be done on a fairly, like a quarterly basis, if not annual. And what the codification means is, as ordinances are passed, they need to be updated on the website and other places so that we know what our actual law that we're working under. The fact that we haven't recodified in probably 2 or 3 years that's a situation that we really need to remedy. Because if you were to get a ticket based on a new ordinance that you don't know about, in my opinion, you can go to court and fight that and say, well, I didn't know. And they'd say, well, how would you know? It's not in your ordinance, not online. You have no way of finding out that that ordinance has been corrected. So I already know through, Madam Mayor has done all the work as the clerk. She did all the backstory. She spoke to everybody. She knows what we need to do. I'm familiar with recodification. I've done it in the past, just as Madam Mayor has. All we need to do is collect all the ordinances that have not been codified, send them to the codification house, and they will put them on, they will recodify. And there's a budget line item already for recodification for $4,000, which should be more than enough to get started. My suggestion is, as we move forward with new ordinances, that we do this codification on a more timely basis, because waiting 3 years is where the cost comes in. That's how it's very costly. If you do it quarterly or annually, you have a much smaller cost. So with the board's approval, it's already in the 2022 budget. I would like to put this on the agenda next week to start the recodification process. The sooner we start it, the better off we are. We will get new pages for our code books that we can insert in the code book, and it will go online because we already have the entire code book on the website. So that will also be changed. So there's also, when you go through the code book for the newer trustees, when you go through the code book and you see that maybe a code was presented back in 1990, okay, and you see another date next to it that says 2005, that's because it was recodified in 2005 and it was amended. So what you see there is the most current applicable law, okay? So that's why recodification is important. So when you look at the code, you're seeing the most recent changes to that code. So my ask is that we put this on the agenda for next week. Madam Mayor has already done the backstory, like I said. We know it's already in the budget for up to $4,000, and that should be plenty to get started and possibly go through the completion of getting the code book online. That's all I have. Yes, ma'am.
Usually when you do the codifications, how many do you send off at a time?
Well, what I would say, if we did it on a quarterly basis, we don't pass very many ordinances in 3 months, okay? So you might send 5, 6, 7, because we don't have a lot of ordinances for a whole year. But now what we're going to do, sending from 2022 on, we could have about, I haven't looked at it yet, 20, 30, 40 ordinances. And we get charged per ordinance. When they go in and recodify, it's per ordinance, okay? So the first thing to do is to find out, let's just say that the bookkeeping is not where I can get to that yet. I can't get to the ordinances right now. Some of those were also part of the problem with the missing documents. So I just want to make sure that when I find out what the ordinances are, I can come back to the board and say, I've discovered we have X amount of ordinances, and come back with the final cost. It will be no more than $4,000. So if I have to go through so many ordinances to get to $4,000, if there's any after that, that would be done at the next recodification. I don't see that happening. I see $4,000 being well enough. And then we have to decide we want to recodify on a quarterly or annual basis. That would be the decision of the trustees. Any other questions?
Oh,
I'm sorry, not that.
oh, oh, okay. I'm like, so, because it's been 2 years and there's been several ordinances written, for the next board meeting, are you going to have all those ordinances brought them back so that we can approve codification for the ones that's been written
Like I
in the
said,
last 2 years?
Like I said, it's going to be a monumental task because that's part of the problem with what's happened in other administration. Documents are missing and they're not easily found. So it's not going to happen right away, but if you give me the authority to move forward, I will do that, and I will try to give you the most updated information before I submit it to the codification company.
I'm going to defer to Trustee Sterling and then I will comment.
I just have a question more so for clarity on the process of putting the ordinances online, right? So are they, as far as charging, are they doing this as per scanning these ordinances? It's say like if it's more, you have one ordinance and may have like 20 pages, 30 pages. So are they going by that, or is it a flat fee on how these ordinances are being put on?
The only
online?
ordinances that need to be updated are ones that apply to the law.
Okay.
Things that the law has changed. Like you wouldn't do an ordinance if it has anything to do like a levy or something like that, financial. But if you have something that has actually changed the way we operate in the law, that is what is recodified. So not all of your ordinances are recodified. And second of all, what the recodification does is it updates the codes that are already online. Like I said, we might have a code that's sitting on the books right now that is actually outdated on the books. We have not updated, we have not recodified. So it's detrimental to our record keeping that we don't have the correct code online for our residents.
Thank you, Madam.
I would like to weigh in with that. Let me get my mic. Okay, since the last time that we codified, I will share with you that then administration, trustees, whatever, the items that were brought before us as ordinances is very few. At one time, and I think I've mentioned this in a report a couple of times, at one time prior to 2017, 2018, it would be 32 ordinances going forth at a time. And when I came in 2017, we did 3 years at 32 whatever ordinances. Lately, if we have passed 15 ordinances, that's doing something. I would say it's more like 12 ordinances. And the thing that occurred last year that I'm certain the clerk is referencing is there was so much unrest at so many meetings that ordinances were presented, they were passed, they were vetoed, they were overridden, and then some of them just never went anyplace. So it is going to require, this is just this past year, it is going to require a review of minutes and the vote. But still, we're not looking at more than 10 or 15. So if we were to use the 4,000, that would be really interesting, but it's not projected that we would use the 4,000 that has been budgeted for, because we just didn't pass very much during the last year and a half. Okay? Anything else, Trustee Williams? Now it's time for...
Madam Mayor, I just want to know, do we move forward next week on the agenda or no?
I think that there should be readiness simply because we never, ever in my history have had to bring back every ordinance to you for you to say we can get them codified. Once you've passed them, they're passed and they're passed into law. So it's not customary that we bring those back. We're just codifying those that were approved during that period. So I would say yes.
Thank you.
Okay? So, guess what time it is now? It's time for public comment. Just as we've had to talk very loud, I'm going to ask this time that each one that stands to the mic, if you would take the mic out of the holder and actually Are you guys listening to me? And put it directly up to your mouth. Please do not put it on your chest. Because if you put it down here, we can't hear. Put the mic up to your mouth and talk on top of the mic. That's me being a teacher again. I mean absolutely no harm.
I just want to say a couple things. I do apologize for how. My name is Myrna Pearson. I'm a longtime resident. I just want to apologize to the mayor and the trustees for hollering earlier. But if you guys do not work together, we're not going to make this village great again. So you have to work together as a team. Always. Remember that. Everybody have a good evening. And when everyone's talking about ordinance, here's one for you. Any residents that has their grass higher than what it should be fine. There's some extra money that the village needs.
Reverend Donna, just a quick question, and maybe a comment in regards to this box. Is it called a box grocery store? Box grocery store? Is that what it's called? That the young lady presented. Okay. No, she didn't say, no, not Aldi's. That's a big difference. But I do want to bring Aldi's in. What I want to ask is this, land and ownership of land is money. We don't have a whole lot in this village, but we do have land. And people keep coming asking us to give them land that they will sell later. That's what I heard if all these comes. So what I did was quick research. And what I want to know, all these in 2028, no disrespect intended, just business, I live here. All these in 2028 is projecting to build over 800 new Aldis. Why can't, and Aldi's has paid up to $1.5 million for land in their specifications. My question becomes, why can't we as a village begin to look, nothing personal, begin to look for ourselves, become self-efficient, and if Aldi's wants to buy land, why are we giving away assets that we have as a village when we need a grocery store? We like to eat, but let's do things with business acumen while we're working as a team, because we all need this. The other thing that I have real quick is with these microphones, when we do the budget, can we please add a microphone system, and once we get that system, if we could blow into the system instead of tapping, that would not destroy the microphones. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello? Hi, I'm Ed McCauley. Hello, I'm Ed McCauley. When you do the Macaulay, M-A-C-A-U-L-E-Y. When you do the code codification, can you also update the resident handbook for that? Thank you.
I am Francine Anderson. And of course, I have some concerns and some questions about what was presented today. My question for the codification. This American Legal Publishing, is that a new company? Or is this the company we've been using all the time? If so, I want to understand why we're changing if it's not a new company. If it's the same company, then we're using the same people that we've already used. But to me, I don't remember it being American Legal. To Trustee Burns' comments on her presentation for donations. I don't know how anyone ever does a budget without doing miscellaneous. And if her donation piece can go in there, I think that would be good. The other issue of reminding everybody that we are on 2022 budget, then when in the world are you going to do 2023? I mean, you have talked about audits. You have talked about bringing in another company to help with the audits. You have a company already working on audits. So now, when are you guys going to take time? And for those trustees who have been here all the time, you had copies of a 2023 budget and a 2024 budget. Those 2023 budget is the one you walked out of, and then you came and presented your own budget to the public. So there is budgets, but they were not approved. So let's make sure we tell the people the truth, the whole truth, not part of the truth. The financial procedures, I heard nothing different than what has already been done. So I think if you're gonna make it something where people, where they can follow it and make it legible, then that's fine. But I didn't hear anything that was different than what was being done from what I know as part of it. For the grocery store, she made it very clear that it would be a very small grocery store, but one with fresh fruits and vegetables. She did not say Aldi's was coming here. And for those of us who've been coming to meetings, this is our third presentation on the grocery store. Y'all either vote it up or vote it down so these people don't have to keep running back and forth. The same thing about the dispensary. We have heard that presentation 4 times. You all are trustees, and I know darn well that I heard it, and I'm in the audience, you heard it because they were presenting it to you, not to me. I just happen to be in the audience. For the ambulance, I am hoping that we will get the ambulance because true to the fact, $15,000 ambulance was not going to last as long in the first place. So you shouldn't have had them buy that. You should have gave them money to buy what was needed in the first place. But you guys were too busy looking at the other administration and not listening to people and explaining what their needs were. You were too busy rejecting the mayor.
David Fields. Good evening, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I just want to compliment you for getting kids involved in making that was a good idea. That with kids, they feel that they're part of Juneteenth. Can you hear me now? I said I want to compliment the mayor for getting the kids involved in making those signs for Juneteenth. That was a good idea. Make them feel like they're part of the June 15th celebration. Juneteenth celebration. Also, Ms. Mayor, I'll say, let those with eyes hear, let those with ears see. Yes. And let those that know game recognize game. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandra Smiley. My name is Sandra Smiley, and I really don't need this mic because I got a big mouth and I can talk loud without it. Okay. Okay. Next. All right. Here we go. I want to know, does the village own property out here? Whereas it's rental property, and if we do, how come we don't have villagers renting that property
and that money creates revenue that can help us get out of this hole. Yeah, before we all got into this position right now. That's that one. As far as the food store, is that food store gonna have meat? Because I haven't heard nothing about no meat. All I seen in the photo was vegetables and bread. My next question to that is, instead of the village having to pay for some land to build that, why can't we use when 7-Eleven used to be? Can't that property be used, since how we know it's a small store? And we talked about all these, can't all these use the property where the McDonald's used to be? Or does that have to start from scratch and be built up? Because that is open land that can be used for that. He said, well, back. My next thing is, my water bill is jumped from $75 to $200. Can somebody please make me understand why that happened, considering I know I haven't used that much water. Not saying that I don't use water. I don't want anybody to misunderstand me, but I just want to know why did the water bill jump so high? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, and my last thing to her, since how she's talking about the food store, what all does your food store really entail besides the two things that I mentioned, bread and vegetables and fruit? And with that, I'm done.
Good evening, Dr. Tanya Winston. Ready? Just a couple of questions I wanted to know in regards to the groceries. Has there been a letter of intent or commitment submitted to the village? We stated, I heard that it was 2027, but that's not a project timeline with benchmarks and deliverables. The performance-based agreement, land transfer contingent upon actual project progress. Also, reversing clause. If the project doesn't move forward within a set time frame, the land reverts back to the village. So this is doing due diligence on our part before we give the approval to give up land. Because if someone is asking for something, for us to just give land is like giving a blank check and telling somebody, well, I only thought you were going to spend $100. I didn't think you were going to spend 1,000 or 10. Okay, next, the per diem. I did hear that the question about how much the per diem should be. According to the state of Illinois, 2025 per diem sets a rule as to what that is. And the per diem is $110. For food per day is $68. So my question would be, why are we trying to exceed the state of Illinois 2025 per diem for our trustees or officials who are attending whatever conferences we may be attending? Thank you.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay. But please, going forth, just to save just an inch amount of time, if you know that you're going to come before us as the other one is walking away, or just be prepared so that we can just seamlessly go from one presentation to the other. Thank you. Let's.
All right, David Smith, President, Public Works President, comments. Can you guys hear me?
No.
All right, I'm gonna talk really loud then. Number one, did the Sauk Village Athletic Association receive their payment that was approved by the board on May 27th? If not, why? I asked if the Sauk Village Athletic Association received the payment that was approved by the board on May 27th, and if not, then why? Also, how many other vendors' payments that were approved by the board at the last accounts payable board meeting were not paid that were approved? Those were all questions. Last question and then some comments. Is everybody aware that the last committee meeting that was held was technically an OMA violation because we adjourned abruptly without public comment?
I'm sorry, what?
It was an OMA violation, Opens Meeting Act violation for the lack of public comment. It was adjourned prematurely due to Trustee Burns' outburst. And that leads me to Trustee Burns.
Please.
I have 3 minutes. I have 3 minutes, and I'm going to respond because I could not use my public comments during the last committee meeting. Therefore, in that instance, I just want to say a few things. She's been allowed to make personal attacks against residents and fellow board members unnecessarily. There is obviously a double standard that is taking place.
No. You're saying my name and you're lying on me. I haven't made a personal attack against anyone. I don't talk about people. I don't deal with people. I don't do social media. Do not stand up there and use my name and say I make personal attacks. You show me the proof. I am not you, sir. I do not do social media. I do not make personal attacks. Who did I make a personal attack on? Don't get up here talking my name in vain.
Just hold on, sir. We'll let you know when you should resume, okay? Just hold on for a minute. We are giving you all of your time.
Thank you. Because I have a lot to say.
We're going to wait until the clerk gives the nod, if you don't mind.
All right. Now, as I was saying, and I think she just proved my point correct because she just made a personal attack against me, Madam Mayor. She just said, I am not you, sir. That was a personal attack. And now she's out of order, which is the lack of decorum. I'm speaking to the mayor. You're speaking out of order. Thank you for your courtesy. Madam Mayor, this is what I was talking about.
Okay, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to do this time again. I'm standing up, and you all know, usually I don't stand up a whole lot. But let me share this with you. On April 28th, I was elected the mayor for the village of Sauk Village. I was not voted in as who is a referee, okay? And I am not getting ready to continue this entire 3.5 years I have left to referee grown people. I am counting on everyone who can hear me. Maintain yourself. Regulate yourself. I should not, and I'm definitely not going to get in the middle of it, but I attempted to bring back and restore decorum earlier. I'm going to always do that. But if you insist, you're not going to make me operate outside of my normal, wonderful, loving, kind self. That was a joke, okay? So I'm just going to ask everybody, be respectful. And if you're respectful, we won't have what I'll talk about later under the OMA. We won't have those. Let's finish this meeting. We didn't finish the other one, but tonight I got some good stuff that I think would make all of us sleep much better tonight as a resident of Sauk Village. So can we make it through this public comment period so I can have an opportunity to respond to the questions and concerns that I can and still hear those of you who would want to talk? Can we? I'm pleading with you. I'm pleading. I'm pleading. May I sit back down? Y'all didn't tell me, oh, I saw somebody nod their head. I'm going to sit back down and I'm going to expect that we're going to finish this meeting very nicely. You may start the clock. I thought he was at 1 o'clock. Do you want to start all the way over, or do you want to start where you left off? What's your preference?
I could start over because I had a lot to say, and unfortunately I kind of lost my train of thought because I've been so busy.
So what would you like to do, sir?
Yeah, I'll start over. That's fine.
You can start over.
And now I'm just going to switch topics, unfortunately, for a second. More commentary. It's unfortunate that as a resident, I have to come up here. I haven't called anybody out of their name. I sat quiet for the longest. I didn't interrupt anybody when I felt that things were being said that were inappropriate. I could have been sarcastic and laughed in the back when people seemed uneducated in some of their statements up here. I didn't do that. I just sat back and I kept my thoughts and my words to myself. It's a shame that I have to come up here and be rudely interrupted by our senior trustee because she lacks decorum. And yes, I have every right to say that because I'm a resident and I'm exercising my First Amendment right. And I'm speaking to the mayor. I'm following every last rule, protocol, and procedure that is expected for me to follow. And it's a shame that our senior trustees and elected officials can't do the same. They are setting a horrible example. And they are the reason why we have so many OMA violations. And then they want to sit up and talk about donations. Who would give these people money? Why would I donate money to somebody that can't even hold their decorum? It's ridiculous. And I'm not worried about anybody standing behind me.
Oh, no, that's not even what that was. That's not. So continue, sir.
But the personal attacks need to stop. And technically, Madam Mayor, I do expect you as the chairperson or chairwoman of this board to call point of order. To maintain, and in your first meeting when you first were inaugurated, you said you may sanction some trustees and or have them removed. And I would advise you to do so because obviously, specifically like with our senior trustee right here, she's been out of order at least 20% of the meeting today. And it's unnecessary. Her lack of decorum, and everybody in here knows it, has led to chaos in this very municipal hall, and it's unnecessary. And there's only one way you're going to rein her in, and that's to either have her removed or sanctioned at a point. How long are we going to let this go on?
Thank you, sir.
Jeffrey Burns, District 4168, resident. My comment is, it's amazing that people who are not trustees that think they're so educated need to go back and find out when a meeting is shut down. It will be shut down due to people being violent. Now, the same can be said also about another senior trustee. But what we're not going to do is have nothing one-sided. Because first of all, you don't come to this podium and call anybody's name. You talk to Madam Mayor, you address Madam Mayor, and whatever you're going to say, you say it to Madam Mayor. You don't say Raven Johnson, you don't say Aretha Burns. So you are the agitator, sir. So again, what we're not going to do, Marva, what we're not going to do is allow them to come and call people names and think they just going to keep on talking. They will be interrupted because they're not supposed to be doing that. So don't come up here talking about decorum when you're the one breaking it. Because he walked past me and insulted me, and I got him on camera. I got him on tape. And he threatened me last week. So he's the main agitator that's in this room causing interruptions. So again, if you behave yourself, we have peace in here. That's all.
Thank you, sir. I believe that that's it for public comment, and I am going to quickly move forward answering some of the thank you for picking up. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. I was told that I spend too much time on this section, but I want you to always feel that you are being heard, you're being listened to, and those that I can address, I will gladly do so. We talked about the codification and the handbook. Codification is being done. We generally update the handbook every 4 months. This time around, there is a number of positions that are not filled yet, not just the 6th trustee, but we have a lot of new department heads that will be coming on and new staff as presented before. Rather than to decrease the shelf life of the new one that we would do, we opted to wait until we are fully staffed as much as possible before updating it. But know that, give us a month or two, and we'll be back in business, and you'll be able to get a new residential handbook. There was a question about American Legal. I am the one who brought American Legal to us, opposed to MuniCode, who we used to use. MuniCode was purchased by Civic Plus, and when they were purchased by Civic Plus, they got very, very, very greedy, and they started wanting to charge us by the page, okay, and them charging us back for a blanket fee. Now that I remember, we opted not to go with their blanket fee or the page by page, because during that time also we were only getting codified 5 to 10 ordinances back then, and we would have just been giving away money. So I brought to the then trustees, I think, 3 different companies, and they opted at that point in time, by hope, that we would go with American. And that's probably why the clerk went back to them to see if they could give us the same price points and all of that. Okay, so yes, you're right, they are new. Moving on. I can't read my own writing. Donations miscellaneous. Oh, okay. One person stated that, well, in any budget, you're going to always have what a lot of people call miscellaneous, but then you also have contingency funds in the budget. So, based on the amount that you put in your contingency fund, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is no more than 10% of the overall budget, that is can be used contingent upon the need. Okay? So I'm not certain if we call it miscellaneous or if we call it contingency, but bottom line, it's there and we can look at how to utilize that. The financial policy and planning. As I said when this was first presented this evening, this came before us in 2017, and it never went anyplace. It was never approved. It was never put into place. We do not operate on the majority of what's in here, in spite of the fact that many of the trustees who served on the board at that time were in agreement with the elements that's on the inside of this, and those that needed to be made changes, those changes were made. So, since it was never approved, if we're going to move forward with it as a village, along with some of the other policies and procedures that's being drafted, we have to approve it. So even though you may not think it contains anything different than it did before, I know for a fact one thing that it contains, and that is, since I came upon this board, I asked for a petty cash fund. Petty cash fund never got into policy and procedure, nor did the amount of a petty cash fund get included. It's in here now, so if nothing else has changed, I know that has. So let's move forward with financial policy and procedures and see what we're going to come up with. The grocery store has been presented 3 different times, and it has been by the Southland Development, the last 3. The other ones, even though people say that we did not approve a grocery store, that was not it. It was a project to survey. It was a survey to see if the village could support a grocery store. So we want to keep the language as accurate as possible so that we're not spewing misinformation. Now I will say, before it was Bo Kim, who's the CEO of SDA, Southland Development. He's presented before us twice, and now the president has. So this is the 3rd time. Most of it is the same as it was presented before. Now, though, we have some residents and a trustee who did not share, but now they are presenting conversation and concerns that is plausible. And I think as a board, the board is going to have to give that some consideration. That's not me voting yay or nay at all. I'm just saying a couple of people have brought forth something. Mr. Fields, and I am going to call you by name if you don't mind. I love the compliment about getting children involved in Juneteenth. Is that what you were talking? I didn't do that. So, Trustee Burns, did you have a hand in that? So we're going to give our accolades to Trustee Burns because that wasn't me. We do not own rental properties, okay? We have abandoned properties, neglected properties. We have all of that, but we are not renters. The food store would have meat. The water bill, let me share something with you to let you know. I mean, we completed the first leg. We told you it was a 4-step process for bringing this water bill together, okay? We finished the first step. We got the dates corrected, okay? There's still 3 other steps that needs to be done, and all we can do is to appeal to you to be patient and to keep in mind, as we have repeatedly stated, pay your water bill every month, but do not pay any more than what you are accustomed to pay. Someone came up today very upset because last month their bill was $97, and when they got their bill this time it's $1,900. And it's one person. They could not have used all of that water, even if they filled the whole swimming pool, okay? So we're working on it. In terms of the grocery store and the documentation that has been submitted in terms of the plan, the resolution, the plan development is as comprehensive as we are accustomed to program designs of this nature. All that has come before us has not been. Know though that we have attorneys, and our attorneys must vet and review any and every document. Some of the questions that were asked were answered during the presentation, and so I'm not going to go step by step with that. If I'm not mistaken, the check for the Southland Youth Group was paid. But I may have to be corrected, but if I'm not mistaken, it was paid, because all items from that meeting were approved, and shortly after that, checks were presented. Did you say it? Okay, because the 2 of us would have had to have signed them. In terms of the OMA violation, I think that another resident read another statute, and I honestly do believe that in all good faith, I acted in accordance with what was needed for the moment. If it gets violent or start to get very hostile, as I said, I'm not referee. I'm not going to be the referee. We can end the meeting. If we lack decorum, I'm going to end the meeting. And if there are things that needs to be discussed after that, it will just have to wait to the next meeting. But I am not going to put any of our other residents in harm's way. I don't like to see residents running out the door because it gets hostile. I don't want to duck underneath this desk because it gets hostile. I don't want any of the trustees to be impacted because it gets hostile. If you don't want the meeting to conclude before it's supposed to, regardless of the time, I'm just going to say, behave yourselves. That's all. Control your emotions. This is the village. Yes, we love our village, but we cannot take everything that happened in this boardroom so personally that it's going to make you have high blood pressure, a stroke, or anything along that line. Because if not, then we'll call one of our new ambulances to get you, but then we'll continue on with the meeting. I know that sounds ugly, but that's the reality of it. But when I need to close the meeting because you guys cannot limit your personal attacks and communicate just with the chair, as you say, but then you do other things, I'm going to take it. And you know what? If it's an OPLA violation, and if you call keep the pack on me, I respond to them. And I respond very well to them. And if I have to take that extra time from doing the other clerical duties that I'm doing right now, I'll do that. But you all are in control of this space. Know that. I think I responded to everybody. So now, trustees, I don't want to give you a limitation in terms of your time and what you're going to say. If you have something you feel that you need to share, I'm going to ask you that, but know that I have something I would really want to say. Trustee Sauk.
Good evening, everyone. The Community and Economic Development Committee, we held our first meeting on Monday in the Rotunda.
That's your report. We're not giving a report, just give you comments.
Okay, so the one thing that I would like to say in regards to comments is that there are a lot of committees that need members. There are forms on the back table, and I implore you all to look at the forms, find something that you would like to be involved in, and get involved. We talk about the things that the village needs and we want change, so get involved, become proactive, and join the committee. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. My comment is this. I'm not going to be bullied and I'm not going to be lied on. I don't say anything to anyone. I don't do social media. I don't get on the phone and talk. I don't do any of those things. So please do not come to the podiums and say that I'm saying anything about people.
You're talking to me, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm just making a comment. This is my turn to make a comment. So I'm making an open comment. This is my turn to do so. So I'm not going to be interrupted because when anyone is talking, I stand and I listen. Doesn't matter who it is. When it's my turn to speak, it's my turn to speak. And if you interrupt me, I'm going to keep talking because it's my turn at that time. So please understand that. Everyone understand that. Okay? The other thing is this. Whatever I do or whatever I say, I've done my research. I am a trustee. I'm an elected official. And guess what? I am not a perfect person, and no one in here is. And so what bothers me is someone always trying to make you do something that they're not following themselves. There's a whole lot of that going on. A whole lot of be this and do this and be this and do that, and you're not following your same protocol. So I'm just doing a comment. I'm looking to see, Mayor, let me please get to my comment. I am looking. I'm just commenting, and this is what I'm talking about. I'm just sitting here commenting. I'm just looking, and I'm being interrupted. And again, I'm not going to stand for that neither, because I don't do it to no one else, unless you are being disrespectful to me. Now, again, if you call my name, it is the intelligent thing to address you back by name. If you do not want to be addressed by name, then keep my name out your mouth. And I want to tell everybody, don't always expect for me to be prime and proper and pretty. That is not who I am. I'm straightforward. I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to give you the information that's out there. We are all adults, and everybody in here gets their cage rattled here or there. So none of us can act like we're just these people that's just going to be perfect all the time. If there's a time where I may have to be assertive, then you will get that from me. Okay? Other than that, I will sit here, listen, mind my business. I will assert myself when I need to, and I will sit here and be quiet when I need to. Other than that, I'm doing my job, and that's all anybody have to understand about Trustee Burns.
Thank you, Trustee Burns. And just so that you know, there is one young adult among us who's not an adult. But he's, oh, okay. Trustee Sterling.
I just want to say I hope everyone had a happy Father's Day, happy Juneteenth, and bless you all.
Thank you. I have a couple of things. I want to be mindful, well, I think all of you received, because you have access to your email, and that was the letter on dealing with attendees at meetings. I'm just going to ask if you find that you cannot attend, please let the clerk know that you're not able to attend, so that our residents do not come out expecting a meeting and we cannot conduct a meeting. Let's be respectful of them, their time, and their interest in us. But one other thing I want to say, and thank you, Trustee Sapp. She mentioned that there were some forms on the back table, and I am still inviting everyone to sign up for at least one of the mayor's office of special events. We want to include each and every one of you in at least one committee, one event. I'm going to share something else. Remember how you guys completed, you voted for us to approve parity bonds a couple months ago? We approved them. Then, now we've been in communication, and guess how much money we have been leaving, we've left on the table for the last number of years. And if you bring it all together, how much do we have? Say it loud. We have coming toward us $2 million. This was money that we could have been receiving. Okay, not all in 1 year, I think it's 2 or 3 years that we've not requested that money. Let me share with you what I would like to see us do with that $2 million. You know how we keep always getting these aging reports when it's time for accounts payable, and we have to pick and choose who we can pay to make certain we don't go overboard. We have some people, we owe them monies from more than 200 days ago, almost a year, some more than a year. I would love for us to pay off all of our expenses, all of our debts, and restart anew. That's what I would like. That's what I would like. I can't vote that into place. That requires the trustees. But that's just my vision. That's what I'd like. I would like to thank all of you. I'm going to ask everyone to turn around and look at the person at the door. Turn around and look at the person at the door. The reason why, and it's nothing against your office, nothing against you, know that, but this is the first female officer that the village has had since 2015, 2016. Thank you. We appreciate your doing this with us. We truly do. Okay, with that said, it is not 10 o'clock, and I am calling for a motion to adjourn. It's been moved by Trustee Burns, second by Trustee Sapp. All in favor? Have a good night, everybody.